Hey guys, I'm Chris.
And I'm Mike.
And welcome back to this week's No Limits, the Scott Harvath podcast. How you doing this week, Mike?
Brad Thor time, dude. I'm always down for some Brad Thor.
Yeah. It's this one kind of slipped through our cracks. Got to straight up apologize for this, but better late than never, right?
Right. We were really excited when the cover was dropped for Shadow of Doubt and the title, but we never came around and talked about the plot, the trailer we get of what it's about, and even a teaser of the first chapter. So we should dig into that tonight.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, we listened to it together on a ride back from our golf pod. Our golf weekend. Yes.
We wanted to do a podcast during golf weekend. We were a little beat up after that round in the sun and the surprising 80-degree weather we weren't expecting, but it baked us out there.
Yeah, I was. By the time we got back to your place, we were talking with your lovely wife, having some ice cream. Just wasn't meant to be, but
just zonked, dude.
We didn't even drink like that much.
No, we didn't, surprisingly. But on the ride home, we had a good time to listen to the Shadow of Doubt teaser. Neither of us even knew it was out. I forgot how I stumbled upon it. I was like, dude, let's listen to this together in the car. So I love that we got to do that. That was really a lot of fun. We rarely talk about the books in person. It's all virtual on these podcasts. We got to not only do it in person, but listen to one of the books in person. That was super cool.
Yeah. All right. Do you want me to read the little blurb here?
Yeah. Tell us about it. Coming out July 23rd, 2024.
All right. A mysterious cargo plane flanked by a squadron of Russia's most lethal fighters has just taken off from a remote airbase. Closely monitored by the United States, no one inside the Pentagon has any idea where it's going or what it's carrying. A high-level Russian defector, a walking vault of secrets that could shatter the West, seeks asylum in Norway. Across the continent, in the heart of Paris, a lone French agent stumbles upon a conspiracy so explosive it could ignite a global firestorm. As alarm bells ring in Washington, the CIA's most lethal weapon, Scott Harvath, is forced to choose between his conscience and his country. You'll be left breathless as Harvath is swept into a whirlwind of double agents, international intrigue, and heart-stopping chases. I feel like that's your line, international intrigue.
Great line.
Find out why Brad Thor is called the master of thrillers and America's favorite author. Read Shadow of a Doubt today.
Shadow of Doubt, dude, not Shadow of a Doubt. I know. We keep saying it. I keep at it. Shadow of Doubt. I want it to be Shadow of a Doubt. Sorry. We've done that so many times already, and the book's not even 2 months away from being published.
Shadow of Doubt. All right,
a mysterious cargo plane flanked by a squadron of Russia's most lethal fighters. That's a kind of cool concept. It reminds me a little of Backlash, how Scott was being transported on this plane across Russia. But we don't know what this one has as its cargo. We don't know where it's going. A remote airbase? From where? I feel like it's giving us just enough to wet our whistle, but equally keeping us in the dark, which is just a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it seems like this is going to pick up right where the last one left off, in terms of this defector. Obviously, we know that Solvay is going to play a role, right?
Yep.
Being the, seeks asylum in Norway, the Norwegian foreign intelligence. And then I guess, you get this line about deep in the heart of Paris, a lone French agent stumbles upon a conspiracy so explosive. Like, we should then go into this first chapter, which is the prelude, where we get nothing about Scott. But now I guess it makes a little bit more sense what we're reading, in the sense that there's this DGSE agent. We're tracking him. He's doing his SDRs. He goes to the it's putting us in the heart. Does what Brad does best, putting us into the heart of a city, letting us, through the words. Even like Armand reading it to us. I'm there. Maybe it's because I've been to Paris. But he transports me there. I feel the city, the brasseries, going into this pub, and then boom, this guy's killed. He's waxed. Or there's a person there. He thinks he knows there's a person there. Doesn't find him. thinks the person left, and then ultimately the person is still there, right? So what do you think? Oh, I guess first thing, did you like the setting? 2, what do you feel about this French conspiracy? And 3, how does it connect to the Russian defectors?
Yeah, those are all big questions. I'll just start by saying I do like it all. I like that we're in Paris, going across France with this kind of old-timey spy. You almost get a George Smiley feel. Or even in Jack Carr's most recent book, when they brought in Stowe, I think it was the Stowe character, kind of who worked with James's father. It almost feels like the old guard.
Sure.
And to have this person stumble upon information that shocks them, because often these old timers are the ones who are unfazed by anything. You know, they've seen it all, been there, done that. And for this guy to think that the information that he received, and we don't know how he received it, but whatever he uncovered is so explosive that even he's nervous kind of about what he's going to do the next day. I guess he's going to publish it, or maybe he's going to go into the offices and expose it and bring it up. Like, how is he going to share it? But boom, no, killer's there, turns around, takes a climbing axe to the skull. That touch was great because earlier he was described as a mountaineer, as an outdoorsman. Right. And yet he wasn't one of those showy outdoorsmen. You know, I want to climb all the 10K peaks or whatever it is, you know, the highest peaks in the world. He just wanted to do those nice medium ones, really loved it for the sport and not for the show. And, you know, he's critiquing how climbing has become this spectacle almost, this thing for social media and take your pick. He even has the Instagram assholes. He says, I wouldn't climb with those Instagram assholes anywhere they go. And he even says, I was nowhere you'd find a dead body, like not the hardcore stuff, which is, that was a little close to home when that was said, considering one of our recent friends who indeed stumbled on a dead body on a hiking trail. And we had just been with that friend when we read this text. So that was a little close
I had just found out that story. And then we, like 10 minutes later, we start listening to this, and it was just weird, eerie that they referenced finding dead bodies on mountain hiking trails. And yeah,
we stared at each other when that line came up, and it was not more than 10 minutes after we just finished talking about that exact thing that a friend went through. We just stared at each other. We were like, what?
Eerie coincidence.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes.
I like it. I like it. You like everything going on here? Anything rub you the wrong way? Something stick out to you, rub you the right way?
No, I think it, it hits all the intrigue notes. You kind of posed this question to me in the car, and you said we could talk about it, maybe that later that night. We were planning on talking about this anyways in person, but, anyways, we're talking about it now. How do you feel about when they do this chapter release and it has nothing to do with, it doesn't even have to be this chapter release, but how do you feel about when a prologue has a character that we meet and we finish that character in the, does it whet your appetite enough that you're intrigued, you want to turn the page? Or I guess in this case, you're intrigued enough to buy the book?
Right.
I guess if you're a fan of the series, you're buying it. This is not your first book. Well, first of all, you're probably buying it no matter what.
Yeah.
Let's say you've read some Scott Horvath novels before. Maybe you haven't kept up with all of them. You read this. Are you going to buy it? Let's say you've never read a Scott Horvath novel. Mm-hmm. You read this. What do you think? Like, you're like, oh, I don't even know. You probably don't even know who Scott Horvath is because...
Right. It's a double-edged sword. And yeah, I think you're right. I'm getting a little tired of it. I think it's being overused. Where you
it's done by everybody.
It's done by everybody. Right. Yeah. All the authors we've been covering are doing this now. And you start the book in the first chapter or prologue, whatever you open up with, doesn't have the main character. Doesn't even maybe have characters that will be throughout the book. It has some sort of device to set the stage, draw you in, create a little bit of mystery, a little bit of intrigue. It could work, right? It lands now and then every once in a while. I have to say, though, I don't know if it's fully satisfying. It's getting tired. I want to open a book and, Mitch Rapp's there on a beach in Iran, going around like the beggar slitting a dude's throat, or he's landing with Dan Harris and crew. I'm referring to the Mitch Rapp series, early Vince. I want kind of that you're just right in with the character. And I had hope for that as we were listening to this. And this Jadot, the DGSE agent, the intelligence officer, knows somebody's in his house. I was like, what if Gary Lawler got this tip and he knows this guy from one of their contacts when he was at the FBI or through the Carlton group? Like, or Scott, what if it's Scott sneaking up on him? But I was deluding myself. There was no way a prologue like this with a random character is going to have Scott or Gary Lawler or someone important pop up. And that's just kind of disappointing. You know, I kind of want that right off the bat at some point.
Yeah, but I understand why it's done. And I guess it's a playbook, you know, everything's by the playbook. So
it is.
So one last thing I wanted to talk to you about this line, the CIA's most lethal weapon. When did Scott become part of the CIA?
I think like how the Carlton group is loosely attached to some elements in the CIA or the government. That line hit very strangely. You're right. That's a weird one.
Is that just like put in there to like get people who don't know like the whole thing?
It might be. You can't say Carlton group. People would be like,
sure, what is Carlton group? Yeah, I guess it makes sense.
It does sound a little weird to some readers. Yeah.
Because the Carlton group is different, you know?
Oh, sure,
like,
yeah.
That's the whole point, why it was created, you know? Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Little strange.
I don't know. I'm picking nits.
Yeah, we are.
That's all I got. That's all we got.
You must love Paris, though. I know you're a sucker for Paris.
Yeah, sucker for Paris.
I love this idea of the cargo plane. Some of the stuff in the like 2 little mini paragraphs you read of the plot synopsis, I find more exciting and drawing me in than the entire first chapter. Like having the prologue as a teaser doesn't draw me in as much as this really, really short synopsis does.
Yeah, no, I'm intrigued by this. I think, you know, obviously he had, while we liked Deadfall, you know, and he obviously had something to say about it. It seems like just based off of, you know, this chapter and this little blurb that we're going back to, you know, a classic Brad Thor story, you know, some sort of, you know, like a pure thriller. So
yeah,
intrigued for that.
Sure. Yeah, like good stuff. Ready for it.
Bring it on, July.
And we got more Brad Thor coming. We're about to cover Hidden Order here on the podcast. That's our next book, and we're ready to go right now with that recording. So look for that episode coming out real soon on Scott Harvath Podcast.
Yep. All right. Until next time, we got to thank our patrons, our special operators, Sherry and Jason, our special agents, Daryl, Kevin, George, Ben, Matt, Dawn, Peggy, Ray, Bridget, Adam, and Mark. Please subscribe, rate, and review using your favorite podcasting platform. Find us at thrillerpod.com or on Thriller Podcast. And as always, just let Scott be Scott.